Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Knee Deep in the Pod. I'm Dan.
And I'm Chris. And in this podcast... Oh, it's gone wrong already.
This happens every time.
I just heard Tim, like, in the wings, like...
Are you spoilers?
We'll introduce you. Okay, from the top.
Oh, really? Hello. I'll just fix it in post.
Okay, and I'm Chris. And this podcast is basically a place for us to talk about games and reminisce about the good old days when we actually had time to play them. This week, we're going to be talking about Diablo 2, or the game design of Diablo 2. But now it's your turn.
But before we dive into that...
How are we so bad at this?
You'd think after 15 episodes we'd have got this down. But before we dive into that, I'm actually going to introduce our guest. For the first time ever, we have a guest on the podcast, which is my brother Tim.
Hello, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm very happy to be here.
It's great to have you, and we're just going to grill you a bit before we start. So
grill away.
Basically, who are you? I've already said you're my brother, but like, what qualifies you to talk about games to our massive listener base?
On the most popular gaming related podcast on the internet.
So yeah, well, I'm your older brother. I spent most of my childhood playing games with you and Joel, our other brother. And a lot of my childhood trying to design or create games as well. I used to make games on paper. I used to create board games. I used to make a lot of levels for games. And now I'm spending most of my spare time these days programming games as well. So game design fascinates me. Good game design is really, really interests me. I think probably game design would be my dream job if I could do anything.
Perfect. Okay. And I think Diablo 2 is going to be a particularly interesting game to talk about, even if perhaps the listeners aren't familiar with it, just because it is such an iconic franchise, such an iconic game. And that, if you were to trace the family tree of modern games, a lot of them, I think, could trace their roots back to at least elements of Diablo 2. Should we do our usual, what have you been playing lately?
Absolutely.
Chris, do you want to kick us off? What have you been playing lately?
Let me continue the saga, my friends. Regular listeners will know that I've dipped my toe, I've dabbled with Return of the Obra Dinn.
Ooh.
It's quite an interesting game. I won't spoil too much, but essentially, so I played a bit more recently, and basically, I think my wife heard me talking about it on the podcast and was like, "Oh, I could come help you, Chris," because I needed a bit of moral support. Basically, I was like, I'm interested, but I need someone to like egg me on. Basically,
what a good wife.
Yeah, great. So we started playing it the other day, and got much further than I did playing solo. And it's, to people that haven't tried it, it's very like stylized in the way it looks. It's meant to look very kind of retro. It's kind of, you're on this ship that everyone has died, and you're kind of trying to work out why everyone's dead, how they died, who they were, and you're kind of going back in time and history to like to work it out. It's kind of a kind of detective thing, right?
Yeah.
And would you say, I wondered, Dan, if you'd agree, it's kind of a series of, if you can wind your mind back to like secondary school drama, it's like a series of tableaus. Do you remember having to do a tableau?
I do. Let's do a tableau right now.
Right, for all the viewers.
That was good. That was
an excellent tableau. I think everyone will appreciate that.
Yeah. So you kind of got to make sense of what happened by just these kind of still frames, but you can like walk around. So they're kind of 3D. Like imagine just like in your drama class, but you can walk around and kind of inspect people and what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have made some progress with that. I'm still like finding my way, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned that game once or twice before. It's a game that I think can be a little hard to get into, but it's actually, funnily enough, probably my wife's favourite game as well. She really enjoyed playing through it. So I'm sure we'll be very excited to talk to you guys about that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How about you, Dan? What have you been playing?
I have finally got around to playing Blueprints. Have you heard of it? I'll take that as a yes.
I have not. What is Blueprints?
You haven't? Okay. It made a big splash last year. In fact, for us, this is a very recent game because it just came out last year. It won a bunch of awards, I think. It's kind of a puzzle game with roguelike elements. So the premise is there's this big mansion house with tons of rooms, and there's a secret, like, hidden room called Room 46. And every day you go into the mansion and you, like, navigate through the house, but you're sort of building rooms as you go. So you're building a different house every day, trying to find Room 46. And you sort of explore different rooms, and each room has, like, clues to the overarching mystery. It's an unusual game, and I think it's quite a hard one to describe, but it's quite compelling. I found it quite addictive and frustrating in equal measure. But I've been playing it a lot, so much so that, that's why I was a tad late to this call, in fact, because I was just finishing up a run of Blueprints.
That is probably the best reason to be late. I love that. Yeah, it got a lot of attention, particularly on some YouTube channels that I follow, and was referenced only just like the other day in a kind of favorite games they had from the previous year. So yeah, it does look really, really cool. And I've got I've had a bit of a soft spot for like puzzle games lately. Been getting more into the puzzle games. So I'm up for giving it a go sometime.
My only complaint is that it does take a lot of time. It's verging on those games that I say don't respect the player's time. It's kind of dipping its toe into that category. It's like you have periods of frustration where you feel like you're not making any progress, and then something clicks or you find like a crucial clue and you suddenly start making progress again. Yeah.
I think it's always hard to like avoid that in a puzzle game, and there are different ways around it, but yeah. And can you stop partway through a run, or are you kind of forced to like complete the run before you move on?
There is a save and quit option in the menu, but I haven't tried it.
Okay.
So maybe.
The podcast was about to run, but not even going to experiment with that feature.
Oh yeah. I was really close to the end.
Time.
I didn't want to risk it.
Right, we're cutting you off. Tim, what have you been playing lately? Tell us about it.
I've gone back to something I was playing a while ago, called League of Legends Wild Rift.
Okay.
Which is the mobile version of League of Legends. It's a MOBA game, like a multiplayer online battle arena game. I've discovered I really love them as a genre.
Really?
This is good because neither Dan nor I really play this as a genre. So
I feel like
representation.
MOBA games basically combine a lot of elements of action RPGs like Diablo with a lot of elements of real-time strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think blend those together to make something that's really, really good fun.
Maybe that's why I've never got on board with MOBAs, because I play them more like a first-person shooter. I just like run in and I'm like trying to do as much damage as possible, and it never works out.
Yeah, just W and M1 at all times.
They don't work well as puzzle games either, if you're around looking for hints. But yeah, I mean, the games are probably going to take about 20 minutes, which works well for my currently quite busy life. The downside is they're very much designed as a team game.
And you don't have any friends.
And I'm playing them on my own.
That's actually why you're on this podcast. We saw you were a bit down. Get you out of the house.
Well, yeah, if you want a game sometime, I'd love to try it out with you. But
I'm keen to give it a go. Actually, I did. I got as far as like doing the tutorial, and then I kind of didn't. I stopped. But I think that being with you in a room and playing it together, that would be really good. I think for like, because I think you find the convenience of phone games like fits quite well with your busy life, right? I think I can see how that works, but with these MOBA games, right? It's like that's 20 minutes and there's no pause. Like there's a bunch of other people actually playing the game right now, so you need to commit to those 20 minutes.
You
right?
can't just stop halfway through. Yeah.
So I think that's where I kind of struggle, certainly in the daytime. But we should definitely give it a go and report back.
Yeah, I think I miss real-time strategy games, and it's the same itch for me. So,
well, I'm talking about real-time strategy games. I do have a game on the horizon that I'm quite excited about. Now, I don't think I've talked about this on the pod before. So, real-time strategy game that I love from decade, Dawn of War. Mm-hmm. Dawn of War is just by no other metric other than it being a real-time strategy game, it's just really good, like full stop. And it's got a different sort of slightly different focus to other real-time strategy games. So it's kind of got some different interesting mechanics and like feel to it. It also is like completely themed around Warhammer 40k, and I've got a soft spot for that as well. So, if you're into that, then you'll enjoy it even more so for that. But the campaign and like the story running through it is great. Anyway, so they've released a definitive edition for it. And so I'm keen to play that and play multiplayer of that, in its new form. But also they have announced Dawn of War 4, which is the first kind of announcement of in the franchise for like, I don't know, like a decade or something. Like it's quite a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's 3 was not that well received, and we kind of everyone thought it was dead, and then suddenly they've like announced 4 and everyone's very excited, myself included. So I won't sort of take too much time, but since we're talking real-time strategy, I couldn't let that one slide.
I'll be interested to hear if the definitive edition is actually definitive, because you get so many like remakes these days, like Ultimate Edition, Extended Edition, Revamp Edition, Definitive Edition. It's like, okay, but is it actually like better really? In every respect?
Yeah. And there's been like an anniversary edition and all this sort of stuff. And to be fair, folks that had that got like a cheaper price if they wanted to like upgrade. So at least there was kind of a nod to the community that have supported it in the past, which is kind of cool. Yeah. It includes like all the expansions and all the stuff. And I think there are some good features, but it's been well received. But I think there are it's always hard. So I think there were like several expansions, because particularly the first Dawn of War was very successful, had like 3 expansions. And there were like different balances, often like games will kind of redress balances within teams and stuff, like as an expansion comes out. And I think there's some like contention about like, which is the most balanced set of teams. And like, if you're combining it all into just one game that's just that, you've kind of got to, as developers, you kind of got to choose, right?
Yeah.
And I think different people will have different opinions, but I think that's minor stuff really. So I think it's been well received. I'm excited to try it.
Nice. Well, we've smashed through the intro in record time.
Boom.
So should we?
Yeah, we should.
I think it's only right that our guest.
Can you explain this procedure?
You know the.
I think we've made it as clear as we can.
Nailed it.
Perfect. Right, so here we are then. Let's start the topic proper.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about our much-loved game, Diablo 2, and we're going to take a bit of a slant about the game design of it, particularly with Tim's sort of expertise in game design. Dan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so to give a bit of background, like we all played this game a lot growing up, and in particular we had a bit of an unusual setup which we've touched on before, where we had like a LAN of all these, connected computers. So we'd play together online, but not using Battle.net. Which, to be honest, I mean, doesn't make too much of a difference, but there's certain advantages to that because your Battle.net characters would expire after 90 days, wouldn't they? Whereas we could keep our characters around forever.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, by the way, that was like the online way of playing the game, right? That's kind of, online servers, essentially.
Yeah. And
could you not play online just by IP address without that?
Yeah, that's what we did. That's exactly what we did.
We did that locally, but you could, in theory, just play anywhere over the internet.
Yeah, in theory, you could play online anywhere. We didn't know how to do that, though, because we were kids.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we didn't have to. But yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I'm going to get this out of my system very, very briefly. That's one thing that really disappointed me about Diablo 2 Resurrected, which came out quite recently, which was they actually took out that capability. So you could only play online. I don't know if they still expire characters after 90 days, but nonetheless.
Hey, we'll come back to that. Stick around and we'll talk about that later. But you're right. So yeah, you guys and I would sometimes partake in just like this, what became like an all-house LAN
it was
gaming session, because there'd be like 3 or 4 of us.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of us just playing Diablo 2 together solidly. And we did practically the whole game like that. We basically never played our characters on our own. We just did all of it cooperatively throughout the whole process. And to me, that's a big part of what gave the game such appeal early on was... And when we first played on those LAN-cabled games, multiplayer games of any kind were kind of still a novelty.
Yes, yeah.
The fact that I could move my character and I could see you moving your character and I could see what you were doing and you could see what I was doing and you could show off to each other and you could work together and all of that was still really, really new for us.
Yeah. I think it was huge. And to the online thing as well, there's just something very special about being able to play these games kind of in proximity to each other. Like you'd be shouting at each, to the person in the next bedroom along, do this or like help me with this thing, because you could just do that. And you just, it's not so easy to do that on online gaming. So there was something very special about those times.
And back in the day with games like Diablo 2 as well, you only needed one CD. You could just start all the computers up and then you take the CD out and move it to the next computer, take it out, move it to the next computer.
Yeah, whoever ended up with the CD would get the music. Typically.
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't all roses, but hey, it was fond memories.
So Tim, part of the appeal for you was the multiplayer aspect.
A big part, but I still remember the first time I ever saw Diablo 2. It was actually at a friend's house over the road before we got it. And I played a sorceress, and I was just watching him walk around throwing ice bolts at things. And I was just immediately captured by it. Just walking around throwing fireballs and ice bolts at things. It was just so cool somehow. I hadn't played something else that did that. And just the complete open world, go in any direction, the feeling of power throwing magic around. I just loved it. And a big part of it was just all the lights and colours combined with this dark, sinister atmosphere. It was just great.
It was very visually striking, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've not seen many other games that kind of quite capture that feel of just this kind of dark, gritty kind of atmosphere, and just all the art is very kind of dark and gritty and
gothic.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and we'll get onto some of the later entries later. But I think that's something got a bit lost. I think the feeling of being in Diablo 2. I should say actually, just like for context, for people that don't know the game, just at the most basic level, I guess it's what these days people would call an ARPG. So an action RPG. So it's kind of a hack and slash, kind of run around, slashing enemies that are coming at you at speed. And you've kind of, it's not sort of super in-depth kind of character building thing, but you've kind of got skills and a few different like things like health and dexterity, whatever, that you kind of put points in as you level up your character. So it's kind of got that element of like character progression, learning skills, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What
about you, Chris? What was like appealing to you about the game?
Yeah, so I think, like Tim says, like the aesthetic and just kind of the setting and the art was really appealing. Probably the fact that you guys were excited about it and introduced me to it it would definitely have been a part. But it's just an exciting kind of fast-paced game, and I think it was exciting getting new skills that you could then see, like, to your example of the sorceress, like, once you kind of level up enough so you can do like firebolt or like some new spell, and you get to use it for the first time and see what it does and see how powerful it is, and defeat enemies with it. That was really satisfying. Defeating enemies in general, I think, it feels good. It is satisfying. It's got a bit of a sense of, in Doom that you're just so much faster than any of the enemies.
Yeah.
And like, some people talk about you being on like a skateboard, like that's kind of how it feels. There's a bit of that, not completely, but you are generally faster than almost anything in the game. But but you've got to deal with a lot of enemies. There's a lot of crowd control, and I think that's pleasing as well. But to be honest with you, I think probably the thing that I find really compelling, it's the setting. And I really find games that tackle the subject of like demons and hell and like the kind of inner workings therein and kind of maybe conflict with heaven, all that stuff. I find that really fascinating. So like, I love that stuff. So I'm a bit of a sucker for games that are kind of themed in that way.
It's not overdone. It's not another medieval Europe with knights and dragons.
Yeah.
It's rarer in games, I think, than some other fantasy settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Diablo lore is like fascinating. It goes really quite deep. And I think they haven't shied away from, certain things which I can imagine certain game developers like might not want to, have all these religious themes, but they've just gone hard.
Well,
no, you're fighting the devil.
It's interesting because if you look at Diablo 1, there is a lot more very obvious religious theming in it.
Right.
Whereas Diablo 2, there is less of it. You've not got... Okay, it does. You're basically fighting the devil, but it's slightly less... I feel like they've gone away slightly from a Christian heaven and hell.
Yeah, they've put like a slight...
There's less Christian symbolism.
Spin on it.
They've made it a little bit more fantasy-ish and a little bit less...
Yeah.
I think there is a slight change in that.
And the set, for context, the setting of Diablo 1 basically is this one town called Tristram. And all of the action, like all of it, happens in this like cathedral basically. But it's it's these kind of different levels. You're always kind of going down a level to kind of get the next area. So there's something like 15 or 18 levels, and it's like the first 4 or 5 are like the cellars, and then it's like the catacombs, and then it's like, it starts to become more and more kind of hellish down there. So you're absolutely right. Like that whole setting is basically a church,
Yeah, and very much a Christian church.
Yes, yeah.
In Diablo 1.
Yeah. Whereas, the kind of the places you visit and the kind of towns and all the stuff, it becomes the scope of it becomes way bigger and much less, as you say, much less focused on like, necessarily a church or that kind of.
Yeah.
So neither of you touched on the thing which to me is perhaps the most appealing feature of Diablo.
Okay, tell me.
The loot, man. I just really enjoyed like finding loot, hunting for loot. Like there was such a wealth of different items you could collect, and like that moment when you kill a boss and you're like frantically trying to see what it dropped. Did it drop anything unique or any set items? And then you have to identify them, and there's like this kind of excitement about discovering what's been dropped. And you never really cared that much about that, right?
No, no, I didn't. Not in the same way.
Yeah. You were more into the skills.
I always picked magic classes where items were a bit less relevant.
Yeah.
And I was always more interested in improving what my spells could do, which items didn't really do generally in the same way.
I'm with you, Tim. The item, like, they're kind of interesting, and like, I do sort of enjoy, like, if there's like a rare item or some magical item, it's kind of interesting to see, oh, what is it? And, read the, is this going to help? But mostly I see that as a kind of, I think for the most part, it's a means to an end. It's like, oh, I need like some slightly better gear to get past this next area, which is harder. Whereas like the skills, I'm way more invested in. It's like it's kind of fundamentally changes my character. It's exciting to what I might be able to do that I can't now. Yeah. Whereas it just kind of the items were interesting, but it was definitely like a secondary thing to me.
And sometimes the items were annoying. You'd pick up all these items and go, oh, I might want that one later. I might want that one later. I need some potions. I need to keep some gems and some runes. Oh, I need to keep some scrolls. Maybe I need some keys.
Yeah.
And suddenly, I found something good. I'll pick it up.
I am overburdened.
I can't pick it up. Don't have enough room in my inventory.
Yeah. One thing I will say about the loot system is it's definitely not a perfect system. I think there were a lot of like mods that tried to improve on that. For example, Diablo 2, the expansion pack, introduced charms, which I just think are a terrible like game mechanic because they're items that basically give you a benefit if you hold them in your inventory. So you're sacrificing your inventory to gain like bonuses. Who wants to sacrifice their inventory? That's not fun.
And that was it. You fill up your inventory with charms and then you can't pick up anything ever.
It's so dumb. And the other thing about items is I would say like the loot system's a bit of a double-edged sword because like you say, Chris, sometimes you said like you need to find a certain item to progress. And I do think sometimes you get to a point where like you're struggling because your gear's not good enough, but you're in this sort of like, you're trapped until you find the better gear, but you don't find the better gear because you can't kill anything.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think like, you can become a bit too dependent on the items, whereas in an ideal world, the game would depend more on like your skills skills that your character has, but also, your actual skill at playing the game rather than just what you roll on a loot drop,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've definitely been in frustrating places where I've just been stuck, just like, can't get further, and I'm just grinding to like find the thing, either get levels or get gear to like help me get, help me move on basically. And like I talked to some people who I'm one person in particular, a joint friend of ours, Richard. He loves the loot thing, and like he will just go on runs. Like the late game in Diablo 3 is just all about just farming, enemies for loot basically. But back to items for a second. One thing I do really like about them, and this might sound silly, I really like my character looking different and changing their appearance based on like the new armor that I got them or the new weapon that I got them or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Which might sound like I feel a bit hypocritical saying that because this is also someone who will never spend money on like in-game what's it called when you like cosmetics. I'll never buy cosmetics. Yeah. Like I hate all that trash. But I do really like seeing how my character changes appearance when I get like the new piece of armor that I got off an enemy or whatever.
You like it until you don the infernal cranium and suddenly your character looks like you've got a squid on your head. Some items just look terrible, but you really want the item.
Yeah, and so you're forced.
It's interesting what you were saying about Diablo 3 because, I played Diablo 3 very early on, and I think it's changed so much since then that it's almost a different game. But my experience of Diablo 3 was they kind of solved the loot problem with the introduction of the auction house. But the flip side of that was it meant that it took all the excitement out of like your own loot because it was never as good as what you could buy in the auction house for like a fraction of the cost or whatever.
Yeah, Diablo 3 messed up a bit with that really because they introduced an auction house so that you could buy loot from other players and you could spend real money on it. And they had anticipated the auction house actually being used by maybe 5% of players.
Yeah.
And it ended up being used by about 100% of players because you got stuck.
Yeah.
And the only way to progress was to get more loot. But the only way to get more loot was to use the auction house. And so it kind of killed a lot of the fun, really, because like you say, it just meant you had to buy stuff to progress. They ended up basically scrapping the auction house.
I think they also, part of the motivation was they wanted to make money out of it, right? Because it was initially a real world money auction house. And I think they took that out.
Yeah, I think the whole auction house system, I think there were some major faults with design, basically. My first playthrough of Diablo 3 on normal difficulty was possibly the most fun I've ever had with a computer game ever in my life.
Wow.
Really?
Big statement.
And then I got halfway through Nightmare difficulty and you just hit a wall.
Right.
And part of that was the design, the kind of scaling was bad. You should feel more powerful as you go on. You do want it to get harder. You do want it to be difficult to survive. But you don't want to feel like you are dropping in power as you proceed through the game. You want the game getting harder is fine. Feeling like you are powering down is not.
What's the difference?
And I was going to say, that's a fine balance that game designers need to like.
So part of it, when you get more skills, when you level up, do your skills visually get bigger and flashier? Do you throw more fireballs? Do you raise more skeletons? Is your firewall bigger?
Right.
You know, those things all make you feel more powerful.
Yes.
Whereas the character I played in Diablo 3 had a particular mechanic where as you leveled up, the mana cost of your spells increased. So you'd have a spell that you could kind of cast reliably, repeatedly.
Yeah.
And then maybe 10 levels down the line, you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because you'd be running out of mana.
Yeah.
But it's the same spell.
Yeah. That doesn't feel good.
But Diablo 2 certainly had similar troubles, I think, in terms of difficulty, right? Because you had 3 difficulties, normal, nightmare, and hell. And you could... It ramped up pretty steeply at times, and you could quite easily get stuck, I think.
I think difficulty is one of the hardest things for these games to get right.
Yes.
And Diablo 2's approach, you went through the game 3 times, basically, normal, nightmare, hell. And the game was much harder each run.
Yeah.
And on hell difficulty, it got so difficult that lots of things would just kill you in one hit.
Yes, that was quite problematic.
For some characters, it's just not fun. It completely kills quite a lot of builds and quite a lot of possibilities if you die in one hit.
So I think this ties in quite nicely with kind of character builds and actually my experience of the game compared to yours a bit. Because I think primarily... It sounds like, I think you guys mostly played this game collectively, right? You do multiplayer games, right? Now, I had the occasional pleasure of joining in with that, but a lot of the time, I didn't live in your house. So, a lot of the time I was playing by myself. And I think I've only progressed, I've only completed Nightmare and certainly Hell difficulty, once, maybe twice. And that was in a multiplayer game. I've not progressed that far in a single player game ever. Partly because it's very hard, partly I think it just doesn't hold my interest, or I kind of struggle. It becomes a real grind, a real challenge, and I just get to the point where I'm just I'm just kind of I lose interest. I'm just kind of done. And I think part of the reason for that is you mentioned the word build, so this character build. So you've only got so many skill points, and so you've got to kind of choose specific skill pathways, right? Yeah. It's kind of limited resource of these skill points that you spend on improving the skills of your character. And those become really essential and they're kind of formational kind of or foundational kind of elements to your character. I think normal difficulty in some senses is really good because you can there's a lot of leeway in those character builds. You can be quite creative. You can choose different skills and just have a go. Because let's be real, when you first start playing the game, you don't know what any of the skills do. Even when you've been playing the game for a while, there'll be lots of skills in different characters that you still don't know because you never tried them. They tell you a bit, there are descriptions and whatever. But anyway, there's a high likelihood that you will choose a character build that in the late game is not effective. Like, you will not survive.
Yeah.
You've chosen the wrong skills. That you've
maxed out Find Potion with a barbarian.
And you're doing no damage at all. You're just chugging potions. So I think that's kind of, in normal difficulty, that's kind of fine. But nightmare difficulty, there, it takes no prisoners. So it's like a build that might have worked just fine or fine enough.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a bit of a struggle by the end, but you were, if you were careful, you made it. Once you're in nightmare difficulty, it's game over. Like, you cannot progress. And like 30 hours of play that you've just invested in this character, point.
So I had an early experience. So I found an online website about this amazing necromancer build that was just maxing out teeth. It was just telling me how easy it was to blast through everything with teeth.
Yeah.
And so I just maxed out teeth. I got teeth to level 20. And I got near the end of Act 2, and I just couldn't beat anything.
Wow.
It's just impossible. I could not beat Juriel with teeth.
Oh my gosh.
You told me about a build one time, Tim. You said, there's this really overpowered Amazon build. You max out Guided Arrow and Pierce, and then your guided arrows will pierce through the enemies, turn around, pierce through them again, and, keep repeating until the enemy dies. And I thought, that sounds great. And I tried it. I must have spent hours on this Amazon build, only to discover that they'd patched it. My character was just completely wasted.
Yeah, and it was a lot of hours to get quite far in this game to then throw it away. I think that's one of the things the game could have done better. Is it was so punishing if you messed up your character in any way.
Yeah.
That you were just screwed. Some opportunities to change it up would be good.
And I would actually take that further and say that one of the main problems is that in the late game, there are very few viable builds.
Yeah, the list is short.
Which means you feel like you're sort of pigeonholed into a certain certain build that you might not necessarily have wanted, but it's the only viable one. Like, you have to get enough vitality that you can withstand these one-hit kills from every other enemy. You have to get a certain mercenary because it has an aura that you need. It's like it takes away a lot of your choices.
So I think something you want is a decent variety of endgame builds.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's hard to get that right on launch, so that's probably going to be like a patch and update thing. But if you're going to patch and update, you need to give people the chance to respec. That you don't kill their guided arrow build.
Yes, please.
And in fairness, I think this issue that we've highlighted was partly addressed, right? In a later patch, there's you can respec. Is it once per act, is it?
Yes. You have
once per
respec.
difficulty. Sorry, once per difficulty.
But you can also get extra respecs by harvesting boss loot.
Okay, right. So there's a way around it, basically.
Because Diablo 3 went for the other approach of allowing you to respec whenever you wanted.
Yeah.
At no cost at all. And actually, the problem with that for me is if you say you play a barbarian through once, there's not really an incentive to play another barbarian through.
Yeah.
Because you can just change your skills and be another barbarian anyway.
Yeah.
And it takes the weight out of all your decisions as well, doesn't it?
It takes the weight out of your decisions and it kills replayability a lot. Because you can't, if you're not making skill decisions, you haven't got a reason to play again and do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it completely trivializes, for me, the kind of the journey of of your character and the investment that you put in terms of like the time. And it's like, it's one of those like challenging problems because it's like there's two things you're trying to fulfill that are kind of opposing. You know, you kind of don't want to be completely locked in so that, you know, you've chosen a bad build and your game is now ruined once it gets too hard. But equally, yeah, I think the other end of the spectrum, it kind of spoils the satisfaction of building a good character.
I think the ideal for me would be a bit more interaction between the skill system and the loot system. So maybe you have a build and then you pick up a particular item and that item is so good for a different build that maybe you shift. Because the item suggests a different build, you try a different build that item supports, you know? Yeah. Like, I don't know, you're a fire sorceress and you pick up an amazing ice item. You've got an incentive to shift. You've got a reason to shift. You've got an excitement about that shift because you've...
Yeah.
For me, some link between skills and items makes items more exciting.
And you do see that a bit in... Well, I think you probably do see that in Diablo 3, to be fair. But you certainly see items that are kind of quite pivotal and quite specifically like if you're going for this build, you want this item. You know, like keep looking for this item in Diablo 2 to support you with this particular build. But I think, you know, even builds which are like legit builds that, you know, people on the internet will be like, oh, you know, these are the skills you want to put in for like, you know, to go as far as you can with, you know, these. So for my example, I had a traps assassin. Okay. And I did this with your brother, Joel, and he was a Amazon. Great game. We got all the way to the end of hell, like job done. And that was, you know, it's one of the one or perhaps two characters I've ever taken there.
Yeah.
And I had a few other skills that were, you know, that were useful, but like my main kind of damage dealing thing was traps. And there just came a point where I maxed out the damage that could be done with my lightning traps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like substantially less than Joel's just like average, just normal damage, not even use proper skills. You know, it was just like, I'm just this like support axe now and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in terms of like what's, you know, what could be better or like issues with the game, I think single player is particularly hard because like I think even more so your build is really important because you kind of need to be all things. In a multiplayer game. You know, if you've not got a perfect build, well, you've got a team of people that can, you know, help each other out, so it's not so bad. Or, you know, you can have some people that are focusing on like, you know, like physical damage and other people that are focusing on, you know, elemental damage and other things. So you're kind of covering different bases. Whereas if you've got a single player game, you've kind of got to do all of that.
Yeah.
Especially late game, you know, nightmare hell difficulty. Like, no way are you going to progress if you're only doing like physical and like one elemental damage, you know? You'll just come across someone that's immune to all of it and then you're kind of toast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's there are some wrinkles, but it hasn't stopped it being like this hugely popular, like it's an enormously popular franchise. And I think, you know, Diablo 2.
I still go back and look at Diablo. I still enjoy Diablo 2. I'm talking to you now thinking we should set up a date and play this.
Do it. Yeah.
Have a LAN weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another wrinkle that comes to mind is, again, sort of relating to like single player versus multiplayer. And it's to do with the rune rarities, because certain runes that you can get, you can basically like combine runes in items to make this super powerful gear.
Yeah.
And the late game runes are so ludicrously, impossibly rare that you just don't have a hope of ever finding them in a single player game. I mean, maybe if you're playing online, someone's going to find them. And so like maybe they get traded.
Yeah.
But in a single player game, like forget about it. You've got more of a chance of finding another listener of Knee Deep in the Pod than you do of finding a high rune in Diablo 2.
But in some ways, something you're never going to pick up just doesn't exist. You know?
Yeah, you can kind of ignore it, but all the best like items use these runes, and you're going online and you're looking at all these items that you can never ever like obtain.
Yeah. Coming back to your sorceress thing for a second, because that's really a class I've never properly played. So there are like, how many? Is it 7 classes?
There were 5 in the initial, and then 2 more.
And then 2 more, right? And I think there are still some classes I haven't properly played. I've not properly played Amazon, for example. I haven't. I've not properly played Sorceress, and I have this. I might have mentioned this on the pod before, but like whenever it comes, particularly to like an RPG game, I have this tendency to like want to go through it with quite a like vanilla character first.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't like Sorceress, or feels a bit risky and a bit like Flash and like maybe a bit complicated. I'll just go like with like a warrior first. I'll do that, and then I'll replay.
So, what was your basic? Was your barbarian your basic?
So I didn't do barbarian. I did a paladin.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is very much like, and it's like
vanilla.
Yeah, it's very vanilla, and you don't even have to think about it that much, because if you do like, and I did put a load of points into like auras, that's passive, so you don't even have to think about that.
Yeah. See, I feel like I need to feel skillful.
Yeah.
In the combat.
Right.
I need to feel like what I'm doing in every little battle has some skill to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise I get bored.
Right.
So I need quite a few skills that interplay with each other to kind of keep my enjoyment going. If I'm just doing one thing and hitting every enemy with the same skill, I get bored really fast.
Where's the skill in raising an army of skeletons and just letting them kill everyone for you? Because you played a lot of necromancers, right?
So my favourite character was always the necromancer. And what it was I love the feeling of gathering power.
Uh-huh.
I love the feeling of, at this present moment, I have all this power summoned around me.
Yeah.
And the summons do that. You summon a skeleton army, and you'd summon your army, and then you'd be cursing enemies to help your skeletons do more damage, or make them run away, or blind them so they couldn't shoot you. And then you'd be blowing up corpses to do more damage as soon as you had corpses.
Yeah.
And there was some little interplay, but the main thing is just that feeling of gathering power. So yeah, that was necromancers for the gathering power feeling, and assassins for the feeling of skill for me.
I was going to say, I bet assassin would be a good one for you. Yeah, because there's so much
it's
that
both.
kind of...
It's gathering power with charges and complex skill interplay.
So you got to like sequence your attacks to get the best out of them, right?
Chris, was Paladin your favourite or Assassin?
I did really enjoy Assassin. I think it had that kind of nice... the traps felt a kind of this in-between of like passive and active, because you kind of got to place them, but then they do their thing. And then you can do the skillful like different, these kind of sequenced attacks that I did come to really like. So I think I like being more actively involved with my combat than I kind of realize when I pick things. I used to really prefer just, I don't want to have to think about it. I just want passive stuff, but I think that's actually not as fun. And I kind of almost have to remind myself sometimes of that. I do really like the summons thing. So I haven't really brought a necromancer along to like as high level as I would like, but I really enjoy the druid. He has summons, but he also has this kind of transform into a werewolf thing or into a bear. That feels really cool when you kind of transform, then suddenly you're kind of this powerhouse for a bit. I think druid is definitely amongst my favorite classes in the game.
What about you, Dan? Favorite class?
I really like barbarian in normal difficulty. But then I've never like really been able to make a powerful enough barbarian to survive like the later difficulties. So I think overall my favorite class is probably Amazon, because that's the class I've got the furthest with. Just feels very fast and agile. You got all these like dodging skills. Next day.
Sorry, that's a cheap joke. Prime. Anyway.
Oh my goodness. It took me so long to get that. because we were talking about Amazon.
I think a theme coming out, or that I've spotted in our conversation, is just like this limited choice or limited like viable routes in the game.
Yeah.
Like as you go through. One that really irritates me, and you mentioned, I need this mercenary with this particular aura, right, to help me. So, those become quite critical later on. And like, I think so you have these mercenaries that are kind of friends that stick around with you and help you fight bad guys. There's actually like 4 different kinds, right? There's like these rogue Amazon like ones that are, have bows and arrows. Then there's the Act 2 mercenaries that everybody uses because they become really the only viable ones. And they've got the auras, right? So like even in late game when they don't do meaningful damage, they're still like benefiting you because of the aura. Then you've got these super cool, I just think they're the coolest ones, where they have these kind of, I don't know, they look like sword and shield guys, but with these kind of quite striking red robes and stuff, and but they never actually attack with their swords. They like use them almost like a wand or a staff, because they're firing like fire bolts or like ice and stuff out of them. Yeah. And I always thought that is the coolest thing. I want this mercenary.
Yeah.
But they're completely unviable. You can't use them.
They've got some quite cool stuff.
They've got some cool stuff, but they will never be as good as the Act 2 mercenary. And similarly, like in Act 5, you have the barbarians, which again are cool, but it just irritates me that like there's all this variety out there, but really there's only one choice.
I'm going to plug a YouTube channel right now, which I've been thoroughly enjoying. It's a guy called Zarfin the Loot Goblin.
Okay.
And basically he just does all these like Diablo 2 challenges, which I really like.
Right.
He shows kind of different strategies that you would never normally consider. And he's very, very good at like, if he does get blocked, he'll like try interesting approaches to sort of get himself unblocked. So it's like seeing the game in a very different way. So he's got challenges like Diablo 2, but I'm putting all my stats into strength. Or let me see. I think he's got like, can the Act 1 mercenary beat Diablo 2? And he just sits back and lets the mercenary do all his damage.
Really?
It's like really fun stuff like that. So if you're into the game, I would highly recommend checking it out.
Awesome. So do we want to sort of look ahead to, I know we've touched on Diablo 3. You mentioned Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yeah.
Do we want to get your views on that?
I haven't actually played Diablo 2 Resurrected, mainly because of what I mentioned before. Like they removed the sort of LAN game functionality, and I was really bummed about that because lots of reasons. Like it prevents you from using mods. Not that we were crazy about mods, but it's like a limitation that I felt didn't need to exist. Before they announced that, I was really excited. I'd pre-ordered the game and everything. I might get it one day. I think it's still very expensive, but I like the idea of it. I think they've done a cracking job with the graphics. I think they've made something which looks great and is like quite faithful to the original game. So I'm glad that it exists. I'm hoping that like some modders will come along and like give us the the LAN functionality that they ripped out.
Yeah.
See, I think I have played Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Okay.
And I really liked... Well, they made a few specific changes. One of which was massively improving the martial arts assassin.
Okay.
Which I just loved playing.
Yeah.
And I loved what they'd done with it. I loved the way they'd improved it. So I think I got it just for that reason.
Oh, wow.
Fair
just
play.
played.
I didn't realize...
They changed the assassin.
Didn't realize they'd made so many balance changes.
So with an assassin, when you apply a finishing move, it no longer consumes all your charges.
Oh, really?
It just consumes one of each.
Right.
So you could charge up 3 different skills. So you've got 9 charges going around you. And when you finish, you'll be down to 6, and then you can.
Okay.
Oh, that's huge.
It's a small thing, but we talked a bit about balance, didn't we? And about limited viable builds.
Yeah.
And they took one of my favorite builds and added some viability to it.
Nice.
I quite liked that.
And was that you played that solo?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also heard a rumor that they made some of the other mercenaries a bit more viable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm kind of interested to try it sometime.
Yeah,
the graphics are cool. I've seen some videos and stuff. It looks really cool. I think probably it would probably have to be a multiplayer thing, realistically, for me to like actually spend some time with it.
Yeah,
because it's as we've said, it's not a short game.
Yeah,
you're investing many hours into a single character, and to do that single player when I've played the game plenty in its previous form, I'm probably just not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I've really toyed with getting it, but I think realistically I'd probably play it for a couple hours and then get bored, because it can be a bit of a grind, especially single player.
Yeah. To the artwork for a second. So it's interesting they've clearly really achieved it with Diablo 2 Resurrected. One of the turn-offs for me for Diablo 3 was the art direction just kind of, for me, shifted in a big way.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if this translates for people, but for me, it almost like it took a turn towards like, it looked like Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
It looked like Warcraft
Chunkier,
rather than Diablo.
More cartoony.
Chunkier, more colourful, more cartoony, yeah. And it just felt like it wasn't the kind of gritty, serious game that Diablo 2 was.
Yeah.
I know that Diablo 4, which is on my list to play. And again, Richard has played this, so maybe we should ask him about it sometime. I know that a big focus on that game was to like get the art style right. And they spent a lot of time making it more kind of more similar to the
So I
previous
remember
games.
when Diablo 3 was launched, there were a lot of complaints about the art style. But what the developers basically said was Diablo 2 was 2D,
Yeah.
so you didn't have to worry about light sources working like light sources. You had a little like basically circle of light around your character,
Yeah.
and you didn't have to worry about where that light was coming from. It was just there.
Right.
Whereas Diablo 3 was 3D, all the lighting had to be done with actual kind of light sources.
Right.
And they basically said that made it much more difficult to give it the dark feel of the originals.
Excuses.
But yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced. Yeah. What really annoyed me about the art style of Diablo 3 was initially they made all the skills bigger and flashier. Which sounds like a good idea, right? Because you get a bit of more of a feeling of power. What they found was when you played multiplayer, because the skills were all bigger and flashier, there was too much going on.
Yeah.
So they made the choice in multiplayer to kind of mute everyone else's skills a bit.
Okay.
Like, so when you play Diablo 3 multiplayer with someone, they don't see all the brightness of your skills.
Interesting.
And you don't see all the brightness of... They basically mute everyone else's effects so you can concentrate on yours.
Yours. Yeah.
But the whole fun of co-op for me was showing off, was seeing what everyone else did, was enjoying...
Yeah.
And as soon as you start muting everything that's coming from everyone else...
You lost
you
that.
kill part of the co-op appeal for me, and that was a big part of the game for me. So that I didn't like that decision.
Yeah.
Did you ever play PvP in Diablo 2?
Oh, that is a great question. I actually made a mod. If you remember, I made a mod that lets you craft a level 99 character, customize its gear. And the whole purpose of that mod was for PvP. So played it a little bit using that.
I remember.
That was really fun. but didn't tend to do a lot of PvP outside of that. Just because, we played occasionally, didn't we, together? We'd like have our co-op characters and then we'd have a little duel. But we didn't really design our builds for that. And it was also a bit of a pain because you'd end up losing your mercenary and have to pay like 50 grand to resurrect him.
Yeah. And just because when I had I do think Diablo 2 is a better game overall. But I had a little phase with Diablo 3 where I got really into PvP.
Yeah.
And they had a little PvP mode, which wasn't finalized. It was their like temporary PvP mode but I loved it. And it gave me a purpose to all the grinding. I was grinding to get gear and gold to improve my PvP character.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it for a while. And then when the expansion came out, they kind of killed PvP entirely. It made the damage health ratio work so badly that it just died.
Yeah.
But the little phase of PvP on Diablo 3 was wonderful. And I would love, if there were a sequel, to have a proper working PvP arena mode. I think would be just really fun.
Didn't they promise a PvP arena for Diablo 3? And then they delayed it for ages after launch.
Yeah, and then ended up delivering nothing PvP at all.
Yeah, that was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that if, like, with PvP, if your character dies, basically the person you were fighting could take all your gear?
No. But they get your ear, not your gear.
They get your... That was it.
Yeah.
Just hallucinated an extra letter in there. Yeah.
You get an inventory full of Dan JB's ear.
Kind of annoying because it's full of charms.
Yeah, barely any space. You know when you start abusing the heraldic cube just to like fit more stuff into your inventory?
Oh, yeah. I think if they released another expansion to Diablo 2, I would love for them to like just do away with that charm system. Give us a little charm shelf, like a separate space in your inventory for charms.
That's like charms only.
Yes.
I also really want the Diablo 3 Witch Doctor character in Diablo 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, that's interesting. It's interesting that you enjoyed it so much because I felt I played Witch Doctor. I went against my usual thing, and like the second character I played in Diablo 3 was the Witch Doctor, and basically I was expecting a necromancer, and then when I didn't get that because it was a bit different, but I was just like, I just wanted to make a horde of skeletons and I don't get to, so I don't like it anymore. And then I played a necromancer later on because that was like brought out later. Yeah, it was added in later. And you still can't really make an army. Yeah. It's still like, still make a few minions that are a bit more, undead themed, basically. Oh. And I was just like, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted like 20 guys running around the screen causing mayhem.
Yeah.
So I just did. The one thing that Diablo 3 did that was great, and this is kind of circling back to the beginning for me really, is I loved how they portrayed heaven. So you don't really, like in Diablo 2, you don't really see, you certainly don't see heaven, but there's an angel, or you see a couple of angels, right? And I love how they are portrayed, and that whole, like, the art of the angels is amazing. And then in Diablo 3, they're a lot more involved, right? Yeah. And there's actually, is it even like a whole act, or at least that's like in heaven, which is just so cool. I love that so much. And like and I think the story was okay. It didn't blow me away. It was okay. But like, and I'm a bit against the grain here. I do really love Diablo for the story, which is kind of a bit funny when it's, we talked about the lore, and there is lore, and you want to read more about it, you can. But like, unless you want it to be a big thing, the story, you could see it as a bit of a light touch. Each act has 6 quests. A lot of them are really not that consequential to the story. You get a bit of story at the beginning and end of each act. That's kind of it. But any nugget I get, I love it, and and I just kind of I take it as much as I can, and maybe kind of read around it, find out more, and yeah, I in 3 you get a lot more cinematic stuff, and you get more of that exploration of like things like heaven and the kind of inner workings of that, and the kind of tension of them versus hell, and this kind of middle place. Like, so you're kind of not on Earth, are you? You're on, I forget what they call it. There's sanctuaries. Sanctuary is literally the name of the planet, like that you're on. So it's all really interesting. But yeah, I think the story did take a bit of a turn at the end. I just didn't love it, but the way the kind of areas and themes that they explore, I just loved. I loved it.
The cinematics as well are just phenomenal. Like, in all the Diablo games, like some of the best cinematics, like best quality cinematics of any franchise, probably.
Oh, hugely. And this is a slight sidebar, but it's sticking with Blizzard, the developers of Diablo. I saw a video lately which was showing the like intro cinematic to like Warcraft 3 or something, like an old, like it's early 2000s, right? Early noughties game.
Yeah.
And basically the comment was, this game could be made today, and I would believe that this cinematic was for a brand new game.
Wow.
And they're almost kind of saying that, like, well, I mean, no doubt the budgets and the effort that went into them was huge, but like, I think also their kind of argument was like, there aren't many games today that will put the same level of effort
into the cinematic,
and I guess budget and stuff into the cinematics of the game. Which is kind of interesting because, your general expectation would be like, oh, well, the quality of cinematics will only go up as graphical, achievement goes up, which it has done. But yeah, it was really interesting to see that. And it's like, wow, the quality is really high. Okay.
Right.
Do you think that wraps up our
Let's wrap it up.
first ever guest episode?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on the show.
How did he do? Let us know. Was Tim a good guest, or should we never have him back?
We won't be inviting him back regardless, but we'd like to know. Here's see what you think.
Cheers, guys.
It was great to have you, Tim. Thanks so much for joining.
It's been a treat. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this latest episode of Knee Deep in the Pod, baby.
Bye.
And that's it. That's the end.